Hi, everybody. Here we go with one of my favorite things to do on the Messages of Hope podcast, and that is a Q&A session. Not only will you hear answers from me, but you'll hear answers from my guides, Sanaya, as given in answer to the questions from my wonderful team who I want to bring on the screen right now. These are 3 of my 5 team members. You all are used to seeing Lynette and Bev, but we are welcoming this time for the first time ever on the Q&A session, Yay. Stephanie. Yay. Stephanie's a new member of the team, and we're just thrilled to have her. And Bev has done a great job of collecting your questions. Bev, where have you taken them from? From my classes, monthly connection?
Right. Monthly connection, the questions that don't get answered during the session. We have a list of those. I also went to YouTube and gathered some of the questions that people put in comments.
On the Messages of Hope show. So just to let you know that if you submit questions in my monthly webinars, which you can find out about on my website, or from any of our Messages of Hope podcasts, they may get picked up in this format here. So I want to let you know, I do not know what any of the questions are. They don't tell me in advance. And Bev has supplied Lynette and Stephanie with them in paper form. We don't use the digital format. So Lynette wanted everybody to know that if they're not staring right at the camera and paying attention to us and you, it's because they're reading ahead to see what the next question they're going to ask is. How's that, Lynette?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we're just going to go around and let each of you ask a question in turn. And I want to let you all know that if there's any pause when I go to answer a question, it's not because I'm thinking about the answer. The last thing I want to do is think. I want to let spirit just flow through me and let the answers come from the highest possible level. So you'll see me tune in and hear what spirit has to say in answer to your question. So let's just open it up and start. We're going to go in the order that I see everybody on the screen, and that's Lynette, Bev, and Stephanie. So Lynette, you can kick it off with the first question.
Well, I think it's interesting that this one is the very first one on the first page, because you just mentioned souls coming together for this get together today. And also I was working on a video and souls gathered when you were talking to the particular person you were interviewing. So the question is, do groups of souls work together on projects? For instance, people who were doctors on this side gathering across the veil to help us with medical research and that sort of thing.
And I hear the answer immediately. They say yes. Like attracts like, and there is an affinity that you would understand like a magnet that draws souls together. When they have an interest in something, they can feel when those here in physical form have an interest. So absolutely, if you're into music, you're going to be inspired by musicians across the veil, and not just one. It can be a gathering. So isn't that fun to know? So I'm hearing right now, we all have a spiritual bent is the word they just put in my mind. And so they gather around and literally celebrate that there are so many of us in this community. We're talking about you who are watching and listening, who are interested in learning more and more about who we are and why we're here. That's what we call the awakened way. So you are our awakened way community, and the guides tell us there is such a community across the veil as well, made up of your own soul family and guides. So that's a crowd.
I love that.
Cool.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to share that how that information was flowing just now was a combination of a knowing what the answer was. They put that through to me through claircognizance. Then there were several images that were just popped into awareness clairvoyantly, and I knew that that meant what I said. Like I saw people going like this, and so I put that into words. They're celebrating across the veil. So these answers don't come just literally just like words. It's a flowing of information in various ways.
Love that.
Well, thank you. Okay, excuse me. This one sort of tags right along with that one. Do our guides interact with each other? For instance, if you and a spouse are facing difficulty, do each of your guides interact to determine how best to lead you towards peace?
Oh, our guides are connected just like we are connected here. They're showing me a great big web. And it's funny, I'm preparing for a presentation that I'm giving Saturday in West Virginia, which will be passed by the time this airs. We're pre-recording this right now. But one of the slides I have that I'm showing in my PowerPoint is this box of popcorn. And those of you who've been with us before know the analogy. I think the guys just gave me goosebumps with this one, that we say that, you know, our souls, our higher selves that are innately connected to us are always observing what we, in our human form, what choices we're making. And our guides are right there with them. And sometimes they see us about to make poor choices while they're sitting in the balcony, like in a theater, right? And it's like, oh, don't do that. Don't make that choice. But it's up to them with the free will. And then it's just, oh, no, here they go. And then we say, what do we say, girls?
Pass the popcorn.
That's the popcorn.
Popcorn, yep. So this, again, if we could understand how we can't be separate from each other. We look separate in these bodies here, but we all are one consciousness, one light of awareness that is projecting itself into all these many stories. And actually, the 4 pictures on the screen that you see right now are absolutely perfect for understanding that. Imagine if it was, well, it is. Okay, I hear you. It's one consciousness projecting these 4 people right now and taking on different roles, but put yourselves on the screen as well. We're all connected. And that's why the phrase, what you do to another, you do to yourself, has really great meaning. But don't just think those in the physical world. Think and project onto this same screen of awareness all of your guides, all of your loved ones who have passed. We're all always connected. So whenever we are making choices, taking actions on something, our guides know about it. And anybody connected with us in that circle is also aware, and we'll jump in to help as needed. Okay, cool.
Great.
Steph.
All right. All right. This is one about children, small children. I'm wondering about small children coming in now with different attitudes, and it seems more understanding than we had as children. Is this because of a shift in consciousness? And how are they different from older generations?
We could call it a shift in consciousness. You could also call it an upgrade in consciousness, because when you understand why you and I are here now, why all of us are here, it's for the evolution of humanity. So doesn't it make sense that all of the ancestors that came before us hopefully learned a little bit more about why we're really here? They learned to be more loving. This happens incrementally, but that incarnation feeds back into the soul. So all souls are evolving as well. So children would already be imbued with all of the upgrades of humanity. So we're going to automatically be loving more. Each person, each light worker who's come before is turning up the light of humanity as a whole. So children being born at this time carry this current light with us, not the light of the cavemen, which was much more dark, or they really didn't understand who we are. So that's an upgrade in consciousness, not so much a shift in consciousness. But now coming into this life now, they're going to also be much more open to the current vibrations. What are we going through in society? An understanding that we're all connected, an awareness of treating each other fairly and with an open heart. And that is going to be felt by them at the soul level, which can communicate much more clearly with young children before they shut off their access to intuition and the soul and start turning to Siri for all their answers.
Great.
Okay. All right. Good question. All right, Miss Lynette.
I, I can't love this question enough. If our soul does in fact have a plan for our lives, does that mean that we can just sit back, follow our joy, and enjoy the ride, knowing that our desires are in fact our destiny, or is there more of an active part we need to play?
Oh my gosh. So the answer to that is very simple. What happens when you don't listen to your intuition? How many people haven't done that, right? And the intuition is the voice of the soul. So the soul is constantly communicating in that way without even needing words through to you about what choices to make. The soul is not sitting back. You are a soul now. We seem to be talking right now as human beings in a physical body, but all of us and all of you watching and listening exist completely outside this reality as souls, right here, right now. And the soul is an expression of pure consciousness. So you can't sit back and rest. That's a human idea of how this works. You are the soul. The soul is a brighter light because the human body can't hold all the beautiful shining light that the soul is. It would just implode or explode, or just, it's not capable of handling that high of a light, that's bright of a light. So it's not like the soul has to do anything or sits back. However, we, in these roles that we play, are here to make choices that are aligned with the soul. And when we don't, it naturally doesn't feel good. We suffer when we make choices that are not aligned with the soul. It's not like the soul is pushing some button and saying, make this hurt. It just plays out that way because that's the way the program works, if I can put it that way. How's that?
That's good.
Sense? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bev.
Okay. Yeah, growing up in church, I always heard that we are made in the image of God. What does that mean exactly?
Isn't that interesting how language creates our reality? So if you take that literally, if you take the concept of God to be in human form only, all of us are God in expression, then you're going to picture God as a man or a woman. Yeah. I'm thinking of a quote by a fellow named Montesquieu who said, if triangles had a God, it would look like a triangle. Because it's really hard to imagine something greater than ourselves that doesn't look like ourselves. So what we really need to do to understand this question is to ask, what is my concept of God? And that changes as each person's understanding of who we are and what we are changes. My understanding that comes from living the awakened way, we're coming to understand we're not only human, and having the personal experience in meditation of expanded states of consciousness has allowed me, and I hope will eventually help everybody tuning in right now, to experience the state that we call pure being. No story whatsoever. And this is what so many of my workshops guide you to do, to have that experience of being this light of awareness. And when you touch on that and you say, wait a minute, this state that never changes in me is the same in everyone else, you're getting a little closer to understanding what source is. Now I changed from God to source. We can call it different names, right? God, source, the force, the light, consciousness. These are all different ways of referring to that which we can't put a name to. when we understand that. State the question again, Bev. How are we created in the image of God? Is that the question?
Right. In church, we always heard that we are made in the image of God.
Right.
What does that mean?
Yeah. I get stuck because even to say we're made by God separates us from God. That puts us into subject and object, where when you sit in an expanded state of consciousness, you become the subject and there is no other. That is God. And it doesn't make sense until you have the experience. So set the intention to know yourself as a direct arising or expression of the source of all that is. And then you'll know that that's how we are created, in the image. It has no image. It simply is just being. And when you get rid of your entire story and stop identifying with yourself as a human being, you can start to finally believe, and I am this. That's the ultimate realization we can come to here. That's why they call this spiritual path one leading to self-realization with a capital S. That is the ultimate. We are created as little selves that are part of one great self. It's kind of deep.
Kind of delicious.
But, okay, so what's the point of that? Then we learn to clear away the story with all of its pain and suffering. We learn that we can access information, guidance, and insights at any time by dissolving the story and simply resting as being and seeing what insights bubble up. We realize that we are part of this limitless field of all possibilities. It's what makes miracles possible. To me, that's just one of the most exciting concepts ever. Yeah. Okay. We could fill the whole hour with that, but we won't. All right, Steph.
Okay. When those like Suzanne in channeling or other times speak of the sea of all possibilities, or the field where all possibilities exist, doesn't that mean bad possibilities too?
It absolutely does. It means everything is included, nothing is excluded. But once you realize that those are projections of something that never changes, if it never changes, it is unaffected by good and bad. So good and bad simply become experiences in awareness, but they aren't awareness itself. So we can take this beautiful neutral perspective, like going back on the balcony with our popcorn. And when something happens that we label bad because the physical body and the emotions cause us to feel discomfort at the human level, we step back from the discomfort and we observe it neutrally. And we say, and what do we say, girls?
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, isn't that interesting? Will instantly take you to the observer's point of view, which is neutral. And now you've stepped back from what we call good and bad. You're not labeling it, you're not giving it meaning. And now you can dissolve even more and just see what a good response would be to this experience. So yeah, the sea of all possibilities means anything is possible, but happily, we are programmed for growth. We are programmed for evolution. That's why we experience pleasure and pain, so that we turn away from suffering and head towards making choices in alignment with the light and choosing the greatest and highest good for all involved. It's happily, the default is towards positivity, which is why negativity feels so bad. The contrast is actually necessary in this reality, the human in a body reality, so that we make higher choices. So rather than seeing bad as something to be shunned or pushed away, we see it as an opportunity for growth and an attention getter that we can use to say, I want something better.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Great question.
I need a break. Okay. What can we talk about? What's coming up? The book. So many practices are in my upcoming book, The Awakened Way, Making the Shift to a Divinely Guided Life. I say upcoming. The book is at the printer right now, but it's already available online at any online bookseller. And we have a great promotion going. Stephanie, you want to tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. So when you do pre-order your book, make sure you come to The Awakened Way, and you'll have a page that will show you our contest. So when you order the book and you put your receipt in for the number of books that you order, you get a point. And if you refer a friend and they order, you get another point for that as well. So we have some beautiful private prizes, amazing awards, and one of them is actually a reading with Suzanne. So pretty exciting, right, Suzanne, given your schedule, and it's just...
Yeah, well, we'll make it happen. And anybody who orders the book, no matter how many copies, we have beautiful gifts for that, including a free workshop. It's awakenedway.org. So the book itself is the gift. It was a gift from Spirit, the way the information was downloaded. It will help anybody who's grieving, anybody who's on the spiritual path, anybody who wants off the planet at any time, and anybody who simply wants to know practical tools for how to connect across the veil. Like all of us have learned to do, you can do it too. So check it out. All right. Okay, that helped. I'm ready for more.
I noticed as Stephanie was talking that we were all doing the thing that we're known for, which is bobbleheads.
Right? We are of like mind and like head.
So here's a good question. Yeah, this is interesting. Are there more autoimmune diseases today, or have humans throughout history always dealt with diseases where the body attacks itself? And is there a spiritual component?
There is most definitely a spiritual component, because the guides are saying me, yes, there are more autoimmune diseases for two reasons. There are more toxins in your environment, and we need to be paying attention to that. We have no idea what's going into our food. I normally don't get into this at all, right? They're trying not to put fear into us, but telling us that the more clean and non-modified in any way your food can be, the more simple it is and more healthy, the less inflammation you will find in your body. But also stress is a big cause of inflammation. And so there's definitely we call it a spiritual component, but we can just get it down to the elementary level. It's coming from our thoughts, right? And what we're basking in all the time is just stress. And the body has such intelligence of its own. Every cell of your body is programmed for health, programmed for harmony. So we need to support it. And inflammation is the visual that comes up with inflammation is what? It's just like this. You can just imagine all of your cells just crying out for relief. I want to be calm. So right away, the guides just said one of your greatest benefits would be sitting in the silence for a few minutes every day to train your body to be calm throughout the day. So, of course, the best method for that is 3 minutes a day, the sip of the divine. Check out my video, No More Meditation Excuses. 3 minutes a day, everybody can do that. You can afford to do that time-wise. I don't know how you can afford not to do it when you see what we're doing to our bodies by being so stressed out. So a 3-minute break every day is going to calm you down, which will calm your thoughts down throughout the day, calm your entire system down. It's no wonder we're all crying for help. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Thank you.
Interesting. Several questions came in with this same theme. I've heard several spiritual teachers say that this year of 2024 is a pivotal year. It's going to be filled with many changes, tumult. Is this true, and what do they mean?
I asked that question because I have been hearing the same thing, and I got an answer, but I'll just ask it on right now. Oh, yeah. See the lip twitch? That's always the guide saying, we're here, we've got this. Yes, definitely more tumult. And it is the chaos that leads to breakthrough. So that's the good news. So they're showing me this. It's time to take humanity to a new level of understanding each other, of understanding who we are. And just like we said at the beginning of this program, of wish you could feel the energy of hope that's going through me. Coming to the understanding of how interconnected we are, that it's not all about me. And this is the big change that we're seeing right now. We're moving from that's my phone, which I thought it is on Do Not Disturb. How does that happen? How can the phone be on Do Not Disturb and if somebody beat me? Anyway, we're moving from a stage of development in humanity, from kind of like when you go from childhood to adolescence to adulthood. We're kind of in the adolescence of humanity right now. We've moved from all about me to now it's all about my group. And so you see nations fighting each other. You see political parties. It's all about my group. And this is where at each level of my group, there's going to be more and more tension, because there's this, we're reaching a tipping point where there are enough people now at the global conscious level, which is more of adulthood than adolescence, who get this idea that we're all connected. And it, yes, there are times when it's important to be part of group consciousness, but 60% is the number I get here, are still in this my group mentality. In a psychological term, you'd call that ethnocentric focus. And it's normal. It's not bad. This is just a natural progression. And it's all coming to a head this year. And we'll see it in political infighting, just continuing till we just can't stand it anymore. And there will have to be a change. But those who are at the more advanced stages of development, who understand the need for a global oneness kind of view, also need to understand that you can't get angry at somebody for being at the stage they're at. We have to nurture each other along. When we come to that kind of awareness, then we'll break out of this. And 2025 looks to be a very nice year if we can just get through 2024 without inflammation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great explanation. And I have chills here. I think the energy is, that answer is going far beyond your office, Suzanne.
I hope so. Yeah. Yeah. So Bev, got one? Or did you ask that one, Bev? Who asked
I
that?
asked that one. Yeah.
I'm losing track. I get a little spacey when I get into this question and answer mode because I'm listening to spirit and not so grounded. Stephanie.
Believe it. All right. This is from Mariana. There has been a tremendous number of children born with neurological orders, such as autism, it seems, in the last decade. Is there a higher meaning behind this occurrence?
Well, this is interesting because it plays into the one with more children being born more awakened. And it also ties in with the whole discussion about the growth of humanity. This is well, the word I hear is mutation, but they say don't take it in a bad way. It is a mutation, and you will actually see that those with autism have a different way of perceiving the world than most humans. And so we call that abnormal. But if we could tap into their gifts we would see that these changes will ultimately help humanity. It's simply unfortunate when right now we give it a label and label it bad. Let me see what the guides have to say. And there are definitely cases where they cannot interact in a normal way with humans. And so that is very challenging and distressing for the families, but also understand at the soul planning level. And we recently did a podcast about soul planning, that the soul is perfectly fine of every one of us, whether we have autoimmune diseases, autism, or no diseases, the soul is well. And so the soul chose to come into a body knowing it would have autism. So this is a beautiful opportunity for families and those who interact with those with autism to discover their gifts, to find ways to help them operate in this reality. I'm being shown in my mind. I couldn't have told you her name if you asked me when I wasn't spacey, but it's Temple Grandin. I mean, they just put it in my mind right here. Beautiful, beautiful soul with autism who learned to interact in a beautiful way and became a teacher, if I recall. She's fully functional and taught a teacher in the sense of teaching those who have autism in the family how best to deal with that. So once again, every challenge is also a great opportunity in disguise.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I love that you brought up Temple Grandin, because with her sensitivities and differences, she was able to make huge changes in the agricultural meat processing industry that alleviated suffering of the animals.
Absolutely. That movie is very hard to watch, but it is because of the cruelty to the animals. But it is there. So you see how all these questions are connected today? It's amazing. But it's so worth watching. I've watched it, one section of it, at least 3 times, because it's just so mind and heart expanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
But it's an affirmation that we all have gifts for the world. It doesn't matter, what alleged handicaps or whatever we have. We're all here to bring gifts, and I love that.
And everybody, I have to tell you that when we were bringing Stephanie in today, Lynette said, "Well, then you don't need me in the program today." And I said, "What?" I said, every one of you brings your own unique gifts to this show, and you just making that comment right there, Lynette, proves my point, right, everybody?
Yes, and the joyous laughter.
Exactly. Well, we couldn't do without the laugh.
Oh my gosh. Oh, what does Lynette know?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, here's a great question. Yeah, this is a great question. At the end of life, so many relatives have prolonged sickness in the hospital. At the end of life, so many people have prolonged sicknesses and languish in hospitals, even passing to the other side while hospitalized. It seems to drain the ones left behind so severely. Why does this happen instead of a faster transition?
2 reasons. Once again, if it were not providing some benefit to those here, the soul would immediately withdraw because of the bigger picture. And I know that I've sat with my mother and father in the same hospice years apart, and as much as we wanted them to stick around, it was just, why are you hanging on so long? It was torture, absolute torture. And they say that death is like labor pains in reverse. A good time to put on the screen, Lynette, when you edit this, that name of that favorite video about, does the body suffer when passing, right? It's a great lesson. The answer is no, the soul is not suffering. Does the soul suffer when the body appears to be suffering, right? However, that's the one reason. It provides an opportunity for those here to learn patience, understanding, and to continue providing love. That is one. The second reason is because since it's providing that opportunity to others, at the human level, some humans are just so doggone stubborn, they're not ready to let go of that body. Okay. They're still identifying with the role, and I'm going to hang around a little longer. But the soul is already withdrawing its energy. But as long as the body's still breathing, the soul is still, of course, projecting that body into this reality. So it's just a matter of when the soul and the role it's playing finally agree, okay, let's withdraw completely from this body and continue on in a new reality. Because death is not the end, just of the body. Okay.
May I ask a corollary?
No.
We can cut this out.
Yes, of course you can. I'm just messing with you.
Well, I asked that question because we have a lot of that in my family. Most of us die of dementia, which is a hideous, hideous, hideous. I don't even have enough words to say how bad that is for not just the one suffering, but those who are attending the suffering one. So as a trained death doula, I put in place my own paperwork to be able to voluntarily stop eating and drinking should that become an issue for me. Because I want to spare my family. They've been through it. They've learned whatever lessons they need to learn with the other demented people. Is that a negative for me to take matters into my own hand and say, I'm done, I'm out? This, the only thing.
That is a free will choice that you made in conjunction with your soul. It feels good to you. It feels good on your heart. That is your personal choice. But
So
please understand, and please understand, that's also an effect of having been through that. Your soul chose to go through that in a family that has that history. So you did some pretty strong labeling right there. You can see your humanity right there, labeling it hideous, 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 whereas others might not. But really need to understand. I mean, no, I can't make a generalization, they say. Some people may be at a level where they just say, pass the popcorn the whole time. Watch this episode with Lee Smith, where he started talking to his wife with dementia, her soul. Okay. He was able to ride that out in a beautiful way. But the part I really want everybody to understand is the soul is fine. And absolutely, the role gets distorted here. The role the soul is playing. The soul is not suffering. And so many spirits that I've talked to in my readings who had dementia tell me afterwards to tell their loved one, I was playing across the veil at the same time. Even though I acted out and I was angry, I might have attacked people, or I was crying and complaining, I was playing at the same time. So we really need to step out of these roles and see from the soul's perspective what's going on. Challenging stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Wow. Lynette, disrespect, because I know what you've been through.
No, I know. I just want to spare my family. I don't care about me as much as I care about them. It's horrible to go through with someone you love.
And again, that's a choice made from the heart, when the motive is to share love. And that's why that would be allowed to happen, should it come to that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Beth.
Great. A question about what we expose ourselves to. I absolutely love watching horror flicks. They don't scare me. I'm not fearful of them. But do they lower my vibration just by being in that energy?
Okay. It's interesting. In my book, The Awakened Way, that's coming out, I just recorded it for Audible in the studio and relived one of the examples I give in that book about how we expose ourselves to energy, how I went to watch the movie American Sniper. After watching people come out of the theater totally depressed, totally morose. I remember in the book, I talk about standing in the restroom, having come out of an uplifting movie, and in walk all these women just, and I said, what movie did you just see? And they said, American Sniper. And my first thought was, why would anybody inflict that upon themselves to come out like this? And so I took it upon myself to watch the movie, to go on purpose to see if I could remain neutral the entire time. I see now why you had me tell this story. Okay, great. Yes, it absolutely affects your energy field to watch any movie, positive, uplifting, or one that drags you down. Horror movies, shoot 'em up movies for sure. You can see this in your dreams, how it just digs up things. After you watch a disturbing movie, the next night or two, you may have disturbing dreams. That's in your field. However, that's why they had me share the example. I went to the theater and I was unaffected by that movie because I maintained that soul level balcony perspective. I did not allow myself to get sucked into the drama of the movie and therefore maintained a beautiful neutral state in my energy field. So that's the key. If you allow yourself to get drawn into the drama of a horror movie or a violent movie, yes, it will absolutely affect your moods. Look what's happened, your energy field, sorry. Look what's happening in our society where kids now will pick up a gun and go shoot up a school. They learn to do that. That stays in their energy field. It becomes so much a part of them, they think that's okay. So we really need to watch what we're feeding our soul, but also, are we believing what we're taking in? So this whole world is a drama in which we're embroiled. Do we believe it is the ultimate reality? If you can step onto the balcony and observe it from the soul's perspective, you see it for what it is, a drama, and you don't let it suck you in. So even in this 1 hour together right here and now, aren't we on a roller coaster ride? We're laughing and then we're talking about some seriously heavy issues and the energy comes down. So you could come out of this hour feeling a little unsettled, or you could just sit back and say, this is interesting. Perhaps I can learn from this. And you come out neutral and then fill your soul with higher energy. Hopefully that higher energy is imbuing this entire program. But that is the key right there. You can watch a program, but just maintain the awareness. This is entertainment. I will not allow it into my energy field. Wow.
Okay.
Good questions.
Yeah.
I'm curious, are you all taking these in order or are you being drawn to them?
Drawn.
Isn't that something that
Yes.
just like perfectly
Drawn
knit
for sure.
Yeah, cool. Woo, goosebumps. Oh,
Oh.
the goosebumps, as the guides say, make sure everyone understands you are being co-guided with your guides to pick those, right? You're tuning in whether you know it or not. It's that you asked the very first question they're reminding us was about, are our guides connected? Once again, the huge web, it's not just Stephanie's guides are going to guide her to ask this next question, and she's also part of that, allowing herself to be guided. But here's Bev and Lynette's guides leaning over saying, yeah, that one's a good one. What do you think? Because my person just answered this one over here.
Exactly.
All right. And they can see what's coming up also. That means fun. Okay.
Okay.
So Steph.
All right. So Bev, I'm just so relieved at the answer to your question, so I can still watch my scary movies. I just have to, pass the popcorn. I have to be in
Stay in the right place.
They're not violent. They're just the fun, scary ones. All right.
But I watch so little TV, and I won't say the show that I'm watching, but I just started watching one while I'm on the elliptical, just for a break. Don't give my mind a break. And it's stunning to me because it's all about the nasty things humans do to each other and how dishonest they can be. And when you don't live in that world, it's easy to think that everybody gets this. And so to me, it's, again, a sociological study to say, we have some work to do if the people really do think and feel this way. And at the same time, there's something in it that's so satisfying, which is the human side of us, right? That's the part that sucks you in. Wow.
Yes.
Wait. I'm being told, I'll get to you, Stephanie. There's a sign I have on the wall up here that's perfect to share right now. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. Right? So the movies and this show are going to just take you up and down, but it's our job to just rise above the waves and not get swamped by them.
Cool. That's cool. Great. All right. I had two, but this one is just really drawing me in a little bit more. Let's see. My experience with several religions have made me leery of following any new practice. How do Suzanne and Sanaya suggest overcoming this and being able to see evidence that I am not just being gullible and, quote, drinking a different koolaid?
What a great question. The heart is always going to steer you right. The heart and the gut here. There's a reason we turn away from anything, because it just doesn't feel right. I've had several things in the last week that have come up. People have offered opportunities or other things have come up where I just say, oh, this doesn't feel right. And even though I trust my team of guides implicitly, I've shared it with other members of my Awakened Way team, my human team here. How does this feel to you? And each time the answer has come back, this just doesn't feel quite right. And I love that because, oh, right. Okay. The guides say that was because it's training for all of us, right? There was a reason. It's not that they know it's not that I don't trust them. We all need to know what that feels like when you don't just say yes to something, you tune in. So any new practice, pause. That's all. Pause and take a deep breath and say, why do I want to do this? Why do I feel drawn to try this? Asking from the heart to any higher being that is of the light who knows about this issue. Is this a good idea for me to go down this path? Pause. How does that feel? Just a constant tuning in, and then you try the practice and tune in as you do the practice. The more you do this, the more you're allowing that soul's wisdom to speak through you moment by moment. And each person's path is going to be different. That's why I love the spiritual path, because it's going to unfold depending on your own background, and everything will sit differently with each person. So you're just constantly aligning with, attuning to your own inner wisdom, which cannot be separate from the one source of all wisdom. So that clenching that this just doesn't feel right, follow it moment by moment, and it literally will guide you along the right path.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
We got good questions today.
Aren't they? Yeah. Super.
And here's another one, and it's fairly lengthy and kind of complex, but I think it's really important because I get this a lot in email from people.
Hang on, I got to interrupt you just a second. Could you hear my phone ringing earlier? You couldn't?
Oh, yes.
I mean,
earlier.
It was a text, the texting thing. And I said, how did that happen when the phone is on Do Not Disturb? Literally, if I could show you the bottom, it says, Do Not Disturb right there. But for some reason, Ibis is getting through. Ibis is the person that's in charge of my Awakened Way cruise that's coming up in September. And the guides they're laughing, and they said, it's because you are allowed to mention this. That's ridiculous. I don't know how she got through, but
Ibis.
Yeah. Of course you did.
Lynette, we'll put a link we're going to have 14 hours of workshops on a cruise to the Mediterranean coming up in September. Ibis is the one that asked us to do this, and she's the one that makes sure we get the best possible experience. And she's the one that encouraged me to do more Q&As just like this on the cruise and answer personal questions from the guides for people in the audience. So if that appeals to you, that has to be a reason why Ibis's text pinged my phone when it's on Do Not Disturb to share that word. I'm just going to give a God wink to that one. Okay.
That's so cool.
Very cool. So,
okay.
Lynette.
So I have recently listened to the modern day mystic, Dr. John Mundy. Do you know of him? I don't.
No, but you are the modern day mystic.
I'm the unexpected mystic.
Oh, the unexpected mystic. Actually, I do know John Mundy. He has written several wonderful books based on A Course in Miracles. Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't know he was known as the modern day mystic, but I can understand why, because he's very insightful.
Well, he was speaking about the concept of higher consciousness and how when we pass over, we can experience a high level of being, peace and love. However, he states there's no story in this state, no personality and no sense of self, just this peace and love. This has made me feel confusion and much fear about the afterlife now. The idea of not having a sense of self, of personality, of losing my memories really scares me. But in other messages of hope shows I've listened to, the sense of self in the story is always discussed and how loved ones communicate with us. So I'm confused.
Yeah. We exist along one spectrum of awareness, the expression of one source as all of us, just as we said at the beginning of this show. And that spectrum goes from pure awareness with zero story to the soul existing as an entity that seems to be apart from source, but is not, and knows it is part of source, to the soul becoming having a physical human experience, knowing it may very well get caught up in the drama and forget it is part of the soul, which is part of source. Part of the journey back is to go back to the soul level where we remember the story and all its contents, and ultimately back to pure being. But this is not happening in linear time like along in human space-time. So you can't say, well, I'll go back and experience myself as a soul with my story for a few years, and then I'll dissolve into nothingness. This dissolving into nothingness is available to all of us right here, right now. I was just talking to my beautiful friend Mary this morning, and we were talking about her experiences when I was playing my gongs for her the other night, and she just, like you, Lynette, dissolved. Right? And she said she was having a meditation and she could not feel her arms anymore. Well, many of you, I'm sure, have had those meditative experiences where you don't feel your entire body. Everything dissolves. You become what some call point consciousness, pure being. And we just hold this, we can only hold it while we're in a body for the briefest of time, but all time stops. And this is the point. Outside of this reality where we're in a body, there is a state that is timeless. That is the state of pure being. We can experience that now, and we will experience it across the veil. But because we arise from this source, which has all possibilities, we will also continue to experience our story without a body. And I know this from having communicated to thousands of souls who continue to experience their story across the veil. And who's to say that those souls don't also experience themselves as point consciousness once outside the body, but say, I can see that by maintaining my story, I can communicate with my loved ones still in a body and help them grow. You see how it's a feedback loop for the evolution of humanity. There's purpose in maintaining the story across the veil. As long as you have fear about giving up the story, you're still in the state of identifying with that as your true self, the story. And the purpose of this program and all spiritual paths is to get you to that self-realization where you realize, I am that point consciousness. I am that light. I don't need a story, but right now I'm enjoying it. My husband and I had a very serious discussion yesterday about, what happens if all kinds of cataclysms happen. And I said, well, I guess in that case, we would all just go back to the light and then it wouldn't matter at all. And he looked at me and then he laughed. And I said, but I would like to not go through a cataclysm actually while I'm in the story. And he laughed at that. You see, this is the way you can start to have a viewpoint that gives you peace. And so for anybody who's suffering at the thought of, I can't imagine, I can't give up this story. That's okay. Set the intention to find peace, and little by little, you'll be able to experience expanded states of yourself, and you will be given by grace the experience of yourself as the light itself, and you will come to know all is well, no matter what. And joy wants to be you, whether in a body or not. You playing this role because it's so interesting. And through the contrast, and even through the fear, Source experiences all of it. I feel that perhaps John Mundy may not have connected with discarnate souls with evidence, like an evidence-based medium does. I can't speak for him. But once you do, and you get good evidence from those across the veil, there's no denying these roles do continue after the body dies. But at any time, we can dissolve back into our true state and then come right back into this state. It's that old analogy of we're all like waves in the ocean. We arise and subside continuously. And yet here we are, still breathing for a reason. I'm going to take this as the last question because it's just such a beautiful way to wrap it all up. The reason is to come and remember, I am this light of awareness, and I flow through everyone and all that is, and these beautiful puppies under the desk here, and that tree out there, and even the people we call bad people, they are this light. And when we come to see that, then we can say, help me find the light in that other person and turn it on just by radiating my own light. And in that way, generations to come will come into this world already shining brighter. This is evolution, and we're part of it. Oh, so there we go.
Perfect.
Stephanie, thank you for joining us today. It was great, huh?
Absolutely. It was very, very much fun. Thank you. Beautiful.
And Bev, thank you for getting all the questions together for everyone.
Yes.
And Lynette, thank you for bringing your laughter and wisdom. All right, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. We love our community. If you ever have a chance on a Sunday at noon Eastern, you can join us live on these podcasts. The community is growing every week, and you can just feel the energy live. And then if you can't join us, you can catch it for all eternity online. Thank you so much. We'll see you back here next week.
Bye-bye.